Hello, Rich Tabor for RPM News Weekly here in Air, Massachusetts, and we're at the Mass State Police EVOC Center where the state police do a lot of their test driving, and I'm here with Chris Ryan. Howdy, Chris.
Hey, how you doing?
So we've just had an opportunity to drive the Ford Interceptor police vehicle. There's three different varieties that are coming out in 2020. Ford is introducing a new design, new models. One is a 3.3 naturally aspirated engine, one is a 3.3 liter hybrid, and the other is a 3 liter EcoBoost turbocharged vehicle. Performance ratings on those all change as you go up through the lineup. What's been most interesting to you, Chris?
Well, I found the regenerative braking on the hybrid it's a very seamless operation. I was impressed by that, and I like the extra power of the EcoBoost.
Yep, it's certainly a lot more power in the EcoBoost, but there's also a little bit of extra power in the hybrid versus the naturally aspirated 3.3.
I got a chance to drive the NA version, for my first run around the track, and one of my biggest complaints of that is, of course, lack of power compared to the EcoBoost and even the hybrid. There was a pretty good scale and power between the NA and the EcoBoost. The hybrid fell between pretty evenly.
Well, one of the things that is of interest in the hybrid, and I think this will interest a lot of police departments around the country, law enforcement, is that the hybrid provides a tremendous boost in efficiency. So much so that over the course of 6 or 8 years of ownership of the vehicle, you were almost at a point where you've saved enough money in fuel and other costs to warrant purchasing another vehicle. That sounds like a pretty good deal as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I like the idea of saving some of the taxpayers' money and this fuel savings for the police departments and rescues.
And it's not much of a trade-off either, as I understand this, is that a lot of the savings comes from the idling that police cars invariably have to do.
That's right. A lot of cruisers will sit at the side of the road, radaring traffic, and that adds up over time.
Certainly does. But on the other hand, there are some law enforcement agencies that absolutely do need to have that extra power. They need to get somewhere fast. They need to do it quickly. And the EcoBoost seems like the car to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. The dual turbocharger, twin turbo EcoBoost motor, it puts out 400 horsepower. And when I got a chance to drive that, I was absolutely blown away by the acceleration, and the handling of the vehicle keeps right up with it.
Well, speaking of handling, one of the things that I noticed too when we took that out on the track is that with the naturally aspirated, and I suspect that you'll find the same thing with the hybrid, is that it sort of thinks for you a little bit and maybe overthinks things at times. I noticed coming out of a turn where I was trying to accelerate where my steering angle was still kind of at a high degree angle, that the car did not want to give me the performance then. It probably knew that if I was going to give it that much acceleration that I would have lost the back end on the car. So did you experience anything like that?
I don't know if I got quite that crazy out on the track, but these vehicles they spend a lot of time doing the research and the software that runs all these systems, and they know what the car weighs. They know how it's going to act, and with a computer program, it does a lot of thinking for you, and it can keep you out of trouble that way.
Well, and it was today was more about performance as far as getting these out on the track, but we also had some instruction as to what you can find in the vehicle, and some of the concerns that a town might have is if you have a car that's already in service and they need to bring some of that equipment out of that car and put that in a new vehicle, they want to be sure that they're not having to either just buy new equipment or have difficulty in getting it in. And one of the things is the way in which this car has been designed. The console, for example, 9-inch console, it'll accommodate a lot of the equipment that's in an older police car, and you can bring it over.
Yes, I believe they had a huge interior space increase with the new design. Rather than having the engine transverse, it is now mounted longitudinally in the chassis. That gave them foot room, console room, and just overall, and I believe it lowered the vehicle as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, say lowering the vehicle though, I looked at some of the numbers for the ground clearance, and you still get a pretty good amount of ground clearance. So I mean, I wouldn't think that law enforcement would have any difficulty taking that in off-road a bit.
They are Explorers after all, and they are an SUV. They have more ground clearance probably than a Crown Victoria, and
probably a lot more.
A lot more, yeah.
Well, that's true. We'll be wrapping it up right now here in Air, Massachusetts. I'm with Chris Ryan. This is Rich Tabor for RPM News Weekly.